In today's video, we'll be going over another build for Amara that I'm calling her Elemental Runner build. This build is one of the strongest builds in the game right now, as it allows you to solo the Molly 1 takedown with ease on Mayhem 4 and pretty much anything else in the game. And it's evolved all around her Spiritual Driver class mod. So starting off with the weapons, I'm just using a Maggie for just general ad clear. It's very good at taking single targets down. I'm using the Recursion right here. This is one of the best guns in the game for this build. It just straight up destroys every enemy and every boss in the game as well. Next gun I'm using is the Cutsman. As we all know, the Cutsman is just insanely good for boss DPS. If you're in a position where the Recursion won't work, you can use the Cutsman and you do an insane amount of damage with that. And then I'm using a Brainstormer for health regeneration, and that's about it. It's also very good at ad clearing, but the main thing I'm using it for is just to regen my health. The shield I'm using is the back cam, and the grenade I'm using is the Stormfront. They don't really matter, as I'm only using them for the anoints, and this one on action skill end gain 50% bonus shock damage. Then with this one, gain 50% bonus radiation damage on action skill M. Now, there's actually something, I guess, secret with the back cam that could or could not be true. I'll go over that in a second. But the class mod I'm obviously using is the Spiritual Driver, and I actually have them at +3 now in mindfulness, so I'm getting a lot more damage. And I'm using the Elemental Projector to just get the more elemental damage, because I'm obviously going to be applying the element to myself with the Spiritual Driver. If you want an in-depth video talking about how the Spiritual Driver works, I actually have a video on my channel if you want to watch that, because I don't want to take too much time going over it in this video. The quick thing with the back cam, it seems like if you apply the element to yourself while using the back cam, you don't take as much damage. As you see, it's doing like 2-3 damage with the element on me. But if I go to something like a Transformer, it's going to start taking down like 4 or 5. Do you see that? Like, I don't understand. Maybe it's something with the back cam, because you take 56% damage reduction from behind. Maybe it's something like the element is going behind you in some cases, and the dot is doing half the damage, because, you know, 2 and 4 is almost half, and sometimes it varies a lot. Like, sometimes you get 5, 6 with the back end, you get like 2 to 4 or 2, 3. Like, it's I don't know, it's weird. I notice it. But if that is how that works, the back cam could have a very slight advantage in that situation. But like I said, I'm only using these two for the anoints. But now going into the skill tree, we're going to be focusing on Brawl and Fist of the Elements. I have 5 points in Root to Rise right here. I'm not putting it in Clarity, because I will never be using my action skill to actually proc this. I'm only going to be using it like on the ground to keep putting elements on myself and getting mindfulness stacks. But I'm putting Root to Rise to get plus 40% max health, putting 3 in Personal Space to get 36% more gun damage the closer I am, putting 5 in Helping Hands, because this actually procs on action skill end. I know it says after user action skill, but at least in the little bar at the bottom, it does pop up every time you do the action skill. So with the class mod and this 5 points in, I'm getting 48% damage reduction. And there's really nothing else to put it in right here other than that, and maybe arms do to get splash damage, since I'm using radiation, maybe it'll blow up and do more damage, but I'm just putting it in Helping Hands. Next is obviously we're putting 3 points in mindfulness, and we're getting buffed +3 by our class mod. So this is giving us plus 8.4% movement speed and minus 15% shield regeneration delay. This stacks up to 25 times, so you can imagine after you get 25 stacks, you get a lot of movement speed. And then with the Spiritual Driver, the more you move, the more damage you do. So it synergizes super well, and you do so much damage. Next, I'm putting 5 points in One with Nature, just get 25% more max health, and I'm getting 40% damage reduction to whatever element I'm using, which is really good because I'm applying the element to myself. And if my shield breaks, which hopefully it won't, but if it does, I now get 40% reduction to that element. So I'm mostly going to be running fire with it until I get to a boss where it needs corrosive. I'll switch to corrosive, but the most part I'm running fire, so I'm doing 40% reduced fire damage to my flesh, which is really good. Plus with sustainment, you can just keep healing that damage, and you're very tanky. And even if you do get to where you have to go down, I'm putting 1 point in Guardian Angel, and every 120 seconds I basically get self-res. So you can play around this, and you can just be an absolute god. Like, it's crazy how powerful this is. This is definitely a point that you need to put into, just because you can just play around this and you basically never die. Now going into Fist of Elements, I'm putting 5 points in Anima to make my dots insanely strong, especially the fire dot and corrosive dot if I'm switching. I'm putting 3 points in Steady Hands, mostly to get down to the bottom later in the skill tree, but it does increase handling and accuracy, which is nice to have. Putting 5 points in Tempest, obviously, to increase my elemental damage. That's just a given if you're playing Amara. Now I'm putting 3 points in Wildfire, again, just to get down to the bottom. Not really worried about the spread chance whatsoever. But I'm putting 1 point in Deep Well to make all my elemental guns have 20% more magazine size, so that's saying like my Cutsman, my Recursion, and my Brainstormer is just going to have more magazine size now, which is great. I'm putting 3 points in Indiscriminate, making my bullets ricochet even more. I'm pretty sure this helps with the Recursion, even though the Recursion already ricochets, but it might help a little bit. But even if guns that don't, you can proc sustainment more because your elemental bullets are going hitting more people. Then obviously I'm putting 5 points in sustainment, because 20% of my elemental weapon damage I do is returned to me as life, which is insanely good. and you're already tanky with this, so that just makes it even better. Now I'm putting 1 point into forceful expression to get 18% bonus damage to all my weapons depending on what active skill element I'm using. And like I said, for the most part, I will be using fire, and I will be swapping to corrosive if I get to a boss, or shock if I get to a shock boss. But obviously the raid is the main thing right now, so you really need corrosive as your second thing. I have no points in mystical assault. This used to be the main tree that everybody put it in. I have 0 points in here. There's really no need whatsoever. You do not need active skill cooldown rate. You do not need any more damage because mindfulness is giving you all the damage in the class mod. The only thing I would recommend if you want to put it in the skill tree is definitely get fast hands, because obviously reload speed is super nice in mode switch speed, and alacrity maybe to get more reload speed. That's like the only two. You don't need cooldown at all, and you don't need any augments, so this skill tree is just kind of pointless. So that gives you more to put in the other two skill trees, and I opted to go down Fist of Elements to get more elemental damage to make mindfulness even better. Now, just generally talking about this build, and you'll see some gameplay in the background. This build is nuts. This build is what is allowing people to solo the takedown in just ridiculous times. I think I have a minute 35 kill on my channel, which is just nuts. A Wotan kill, not the whole thing, obviously. The 4-man activity, you know, the raid, soloing it, the raid boss in like a minute 35, that's just nuts. Like that's just crazy. This build is also insanely fun to use. You can just fly around the map, kind of like having the snowdrift. You don't really need the snowdrift because you can just hit one button and now you have a snowdrift plus the element projector, which the element projector is giving you more damage, and you just slay everything, because also the movement speed is giving you more damage. Everything just synergizes super well, and it's insane that this even exists. Like, this class mod is so good. This build is so good. You don't need to run literally anything else in the game on Mayhem 4. As I said before in another video, I kind of feel bad for Zane players, even though Zane's like obviously getting better now, can do some stuff, but it just isn't as fast as Amara, and this is basically Zane's class mod. They made it to an Amara class mod and just made it so much better. As of right now though, the reason the spiritual driver is so good, this isn't only buffs for gun damage, but it actually buffs like literally everything in the game, like melee damage, dot damage, elemental damage, gun damage. It buffs like everything, and I don't know if that's a, like I said, I don't know if that's a bug or if they're gonna keep it like that, but if they do keep it like that, like that's a bit crazy. I hope they keep it like that, don't get me wrong, but if I'm just saying, if they do keep it like that, like it's gonna be real easy to solo stuff, as it already is. But yeah, if you're struggling with Mayhem 4 and you like to play Amara, definitely go for this build. Definitely go farm for the items, because this is just crazy. Like, this is better than Phase Zerker, and we didn't think anything would get better than Phase Zerker. But anyway, that's going to do it all from you guys. Real quick, I just want to say thank you for all the support. I'm almost at 200 subs, which is crazy to me, but thank you very much for that. I'm actually going to be gone for the remainder of the week, so I actually just planned out some in-depth videos that I've been making, so don't worry, there will be stuff on the channel, but don't expect to see like any build videos or maybe fast kills or anything like that, because like I said, I will be gone. But there will be some in-depth videos talking about some certain weapons that you should definitely get, and just generally talking about them, where you can get them. Again, thanks for all the support. I really do appreciate it. I'm so close to 200. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.